A group of UN experts say that they have solid evidence that Rwandan troops have been fighting alongside the M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo and providing them with weapons. The damning allegation was contained in a report submitted to member states of the UN Security Council. Rwanda has, however, dismissed the report as baseless. Our correspondent in Kinshasa is Chris Ochamringa.
The report by the UN group of experts says the Rwandan Defense Force provided troop reinforcement to the M23 rebels for operations aimed at capturing strategic towns in eastern DRC. The authors of the report presented the UN Security Council with evidence based on drone footage and eyewitness accounts about Rwanda's alleged support to the rebels. But Rwanda's government spokesperson, Yolande Makolo, has dismissed the report as false and said it's a tactical distraction from the real issues. The DRC government has repeatedly accused Rwanda of backing the M23 rebels who re-emerged in North Kivu province late last year. Congolese Communications Minister Frederick Mutabi said that the government rejoiced at the conclusion of the report and hoped it would put an end to Rwandan interference. The M23 leadership is largely composed of ethnic Tutsis who claim to defend the interests of Congo's Tutsi community. They accused the DRC government of failing to honor a peace deal signed in 2013. That deal was supposed to integrate some of the fighters into the Congolese army. The M23 rebel movement is currently in control of the strategic eastern town of Bunagana and several other villages which they captured in June. Chris Ochamringa, SABC News, Kinshasa.
Well, for some analysis on this, we're now joined by Dr Frederick Golooba-Mutebi, an independent researcher and analyst. Dr. Mutebi, thank you very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Peter, for having me on the program again.
All right, so 131-page report submitted to the UN Security Council by the UN panel of experts. They say that Kigali has been aiding and abetting M23 rebels inside the DRC. What are your thoughts? Kigali is denying this.
No, Peter, I think that I would like to start with the response from the spokesperson of the government of Rwanda, who has just been quoted by your correspondent, Mr. Ochamringa, who said that focusing on M23 is a distraction from the real issues. There is a sense in which I agree with that assessment. Now, let's first try to put all this into its proper context. There are anywhere between 120 and 130 rebel groups spread around Congo, all fighting the government of Congo, each one with its own reasons for fighting the government of Congo. Then there is M23. But if we focus on M23, we forget something very important, which, as somebody who has been studying this region for a long time, I find always surprising. There is a rebel group in Congo called the FDLR. In English, they call it the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda. Now, FDLR is composed of people who planned and executed the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda in 1994, or their descendants or supporters of their genocide ideology. Now, this group has been, since 1994, fighting to go back to Rwanda, top of the government, and continue where they stopped with the genocide. This group has been co-opted into the forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo to fight alongside them against M23. They have been accused by Rwanda in recent times of lobbing bombs into Rwanda and killing civilians and destroying property. Now, if anyone were to say that there is a common interest between M23 and the government of Rwanda, it would be FDLR. Surprisingly, as your correspondent pointed out, an agreement signed between M23 and the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2013 has never been honored by the government of DRC. Now, M23 starts a war again in order to force the government of DRC to honor this agreement. The government of DRC co-opts FDLR into its forces. FDLR commit acts of aggression against the government of Rwanda. FDLR has never been an issue for the UN, not MONUSCO, not these UN group of experts. Now, Rwanda has claimed in a recent statement that as long as FDLR is still in Congo and threatening the security of Rwanda, there will be no peace in the region. I think that this should help us contextualize what is going on in Congo. It surprises many people in this region that every time M23 raises its head to fight against the government of DRC because of the agreements that they have signed, which have not been honored, focus shifts entirely onto M23. What about FDLR? What about the other more than 100 rebel groups in Congo? So there is it is in that sense that I think Yolande is correct when it says this is a destruction
but
of
the
the real
question
issues.
might be, this drone footage shows M23 rebels being accompanied by what looks like Rwandan troops. So the question is, with all of what you've said, is this drone footage then to be believed, or is this people dressed as Rwandan troops? What might that be telling us?
You know, the thing with the drone footage, which I have seen, it's very difficult to tell. We see a column of people walking around, seemingly dressed in military uniform, carrying weapons. It's very difficult to tell whether these are Rwandan forces, whether it's M23, whether it's FRDC, whether it's any other of the more than 100 armed groups spread around Congo. So yes, there is footage that is shown. Who are the people in this footage? I personally cannot tell you, and I'm not sure what kind of evidence the UN group of experts have presented to the Security Council to prove that these are Rwandan troops.
What's in it for the UN to fabricate evidence? Is it that be misled because there were eyewitness accounts as well, or is it deliberate? You
know, the thing is, I will not tell you, Peter, whether Rwanda is involved in Congo, whether they are Rwandan forces in Congo. I don't know if they're there. But I think that one thing that we need to focus on is, why is M23 such a big issue for whoever is looking at armed groups in Congo, but not FDLR, not Nyatura, not all these other rebel groups that are fighting the government of Congo? Now, part of the reason is that M23 is led by people who speak the same language as Rwandans. So there is a tendency for Congolese to claim that M23 elements are Rwandans, they are not Congolese. But we know for a fact, those of us who observe things in this region, that M23 is composed of people who speak Kinyarwanda, but who are Congolese. So this almost exclusive focus on M23, when the government of Rwanda is saying, look, we have a problem with FDLR, which is not only hiding in Congo and attacking Rwanda or planning to attack Rwanda, but is also fighting alongside the armed forces of Congo against M23. So if Rwanda at all, and this is pure speculation, if Rwanda was in any way aiding M23, could that be the reason that M23 is fighting FDLR vicariously on behalf of Rwanda? I don't know if that is the case, but I think that we need to shift focus, or at least as we focus on M23, we also need to focus on other rebel groups which are holed up in Congo, which are posing a threat to the security of Congo's neighbors. There is ADF, which is an insurgent group fighting against the government of Rwanda. There's Red Tabara, which is fighting the government of Burundi. So there are all these other groups in Congo, so many of them. What is special about M23 so that every time M23 rears its head, it becomes the exclusive center of attention when there are so many groups that we should be focusing on as well?
What might be the consequences of a report of this nature, especially sitting at the UN Security Council, and also, of course, these tensions that already exist between Kinshasa and Kigali?
You know, if we recall what happened in 2012, 2013, when M23 first emerged to fight with the government of Congo, similar reports were produced. What happened is Western donors seized on those reports and suspended aid to Rwanda. And that disrupted Rwanda's economy to a very large extent. But what didn't happen is it did not solve the problem of M23. So this is why we now see a resurgence. So we may end up exactly where we were in 2013, but still it will not solve the problem. And the problem in Congo, as far as M23 and Rwanda are concerned, is for M23, it is the failure of the DRC government to honor agreements or undertakings it has given them regarding their citizenship, regarding their safety, regarding rights.
All right.
For Rwanda, there is FDLR.
Dr. Mutabi, we're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. And I want to thank you so much indeed for sharing your thoughts and your insights on this issue. Thank you for your time. All right, that's Dr. Golooba-Mutebi speaking to us about this UN report in